In this video, we'll be looking at the tools provided by Plait for finding available care workers for your events and runs. We have made enhancements to these tools in the latest version of the system, but as this is something we have not looked at in previous videos, we'll start by looking at these tools as they are provided in the current version of Plait. So if you have an unassigned event such as this one that you wish to add to one of your existing runs, or perhaps find an available care worker to directly assign this event to, you will start by clicking on the event and selecting Edit. Now there are two main scenarios. The first is that you have a particular care worker or run already in mind. In that case, type the first few letters of their name into the box provided. Plait will find all care workers and all runs whose name begins with the letters you have entered and that are available for this event. It will carry out all of the same checks that are performed when saving an event. So that means looking for clashing events, checking contract dates, training, employment status, compatibility, travel, and of course availability. In the case of a care worker, it's going to be performing all of those tests directly for that care worker. In the case of a run, it's going to look at which care worker is assigned to that run on the day in question and perform all of those checks in relation to that care worker. Here we can see that there are 3 runs matching the search string ME that are available for this particular event. But let's say it wasn't a run that we were actually looking for. In this particular case, we had a named care worker in mind. Their name is not in the list, and to understand why, we can simply add a question mark to the existing search string. Plait will perform the search again, but this time it will find all care workers and all runs that match the string ME, regardless of whether they are available for this event or not. The available resources will be listed first, and then the unavailable ones with the name struck out at the bottom of the list. Perhaps it was Megan Robbins we were looking for. We can see she's an unavailable resource, and if we click on her name, we'll see the reason why. In this case, she has a clashing event. The other scenario is that we don't have a particular care worker or run in mind and we'd like Plait to find one for us. In this case, we simply type question mark into the box. Plait is going to find all of the care workers and all of the runs from our organization, and it is going to test each one of them for their availability for this event. Any care worker or run found to be available for the event will be listed. And you can see that in this case, there are many available care workers, and other than telling us which of them are on probation at the time of the event, no additional information is provided to help me make the right choice here. It is this situation that we have aimed to improve in the latest versions of Plait, to add additional information here to help you make the right decision. So I'm going to cancel here. I'm going to now move to the new version of Plait, and we'll see how the search results are presented differently. Okay, so here we are now in the latest version of Plait. We're going to use this version to perform an availability search for the same event as before. Again, typing question mark into the care worker or run box. With the previous versions, we saw the results of the search were sorted alphabetically. The first difference we'll see now is that the available care workers and runs for this event are sorted according to their suitability. Alongside the name of each of the available care workers and each of the available runs is a bar. This bar indicates the relative suitability of the resources. In the case of a bar that is 100% full, that would indicate a care worker or run whose score matches the theoretical best possible score for this event according to the algorithm being used. An empty bar would indicate the theoretical worst possible score. For this particular search, we find that the highest scoring of the available resources is care worker Plait English. Her bar is about 50% full, so although she is the most suitable of those available, she is by no means a brilliant selection, and we'll look in detail at that in just a moment. The least suitable of the resources at the bottom of the list is care worker America Dunlap. Here we see that her bar is almost completely empty, so it would actually be very difficult to be less suitable for this event than she is. If there are very few results from an availability search, And especially if the differences between the suitability of those resources are quite high, then it would be very reasonable for you to accept that the scoring algorithm has found the best match for the event, to click on the first of the results and to get on with your next job. However, in the case where there are many available resources, and especially where their relative suitabilities are very close, as can be seen by just scanning quickly through the bars, you're probably going to want to apply your local knowledge to make your own choice from the first few of the available resources identified by the scoring algorithm. To assist you in doing that, all of the information that has been taken into account by the algorithm in its determination of the order for the care workers and runs is available for you to access here. Let's access that information for the care worker that the algorithm considers to be the most suitable, Plait in English, by hovering the mouse over her name. So everything you see to the right now is a factor that is taken into consideration by the scoring algorithm. The first of those factors is the number of times which that particular care worker has visited the service user for this event in the past 90 days. We see that Plait has visited Gianni twice in that window. So that, from a continuity point of view, is not great. However, what is great is all of the other factors taken into consideration by the algorithm score very highly for Plait. All of those other factors relate to travel. And we can see that to get to this particular event, Plait would be traveling from home, and after the event, traveling to home. That means there will be no waiting time. And we see that Plait lives just over half a mile away from Gianni. She can do that journey in just 2 minutes by car. So she'll be traveling in total just 4 minutes and just over 1 mile. So it would be very difficult for any care worker to beat that in terms of the travel factors. And that's the reason why Plait has been determined as the most suitable of the available candidates for this particular event. If we look at the second most suitable candidate, Owen Benson, we see that he's actually visited Gianni slightly more regularly. He's made 3 visits in the past 90 days. That compares to Plait's 2. However, his travel is less favourable. He'll also be travelling to and from home, but he lives 3.5 miles from Gianni, so he's going to be travelling quite a lot further. If we look at the most unsuitable candidate, we see that America has not visited Gianni at all in the past 90 days, and she would be travelling to and from home of a journey that is 40 miles and will take 55 minutes each way. So that explains her determination as least suitable. So the factors that are taken into consideration by the scoring algorithm are the number of visits made by that care worker to the service user in the past 90 days, the travel time to and from the event, the travel distance to and from the event, and in the case of a care worker who will not be travelling from home, we'll also take into account waiting time. Let's compare our second and third most suitable candidates as determined by the scoring algorithm. The third most suitable candidate is here, Valeria Huerta. We see that Valeria is also going to be travelling to and from home, and she lives 5 minutes away by car. Owen, who is considered more suitable, lives 6 minutes away. The reason, however, that Owen is considered more suitable is because though he is going to be travelling 1 additional minute in each direction, he has 1 more visit in the past 90 days. So in this case, the scoring algorithm has decided that 1 additional visit is more important than the additional minute of travel in each direction. Now you may look at that and consider that to be a sensible determination. You might look at it and think that that doesn't make sense at all, and that the 1 minute is more important than the additional visit. We recognize that your individual organizations will have different priorities in terms of the different factors taken into consideration by the scoring algorithm, and that's why we allow you to configure their relative weightings in the scoring. To do that, you'll need to visit your organization, go to the scheduling tab and scroll down to this new set of options here under the title Availability Search Scoring Multipliers. So here are the 4 factors taken into consideration by the scoring algorithm that I've just been talking about, and you'll see that there is a number alongside each one, and this number represents the relative weighting of that particular factor. So you can see that in this particular example, I have set the waiting time weighting to be 0.5. That means that waiting time is considered to be half as important as travel time. If you think that makes no sense and that waiting time and travel time should be given equal importance, you would probably want to set a value here to 1. If you consider continuity of care to be particularly important, you'll want the recent visits weighting to be higher. If you do not want continuity of care to be considered by the algorithm at all, you will want to put a value of 0 here. So everything we have looked at so far in this video has related to finding an available care worker or run for a single event. Everything that I have described also applies when finding an available care worker for a run. Let's have a look at that now. Here is a run, Wingwich, which has no assigned worker on Wednesday the 21st of July. To remedy that, we can click here and find an available worker. Just as for an individual event, we can type ? and ask Plait to find an available worker for us. The difference between the finding of an available worker for a run and an individual event is that for a run, Plait needs to check the availability of each care worker for all of the events on that run. You can see that this run consists of several events each day, so that means there's a lot more tests to be performed. It also means that the scoring needs to be done as an average. And let's take a look at that by looking in detail at the results for this particular search. Here we see that Cheyenne Blevins has been found to be the most suitable of the available care workers, and we can see that her bar is nearly 2/3 full, so she is a particularly good candidate for this particular run. If I hover the mouse, you'll see why. She has, on average, visited each of the service users on this particular run 21 times in the past 90 days, and her average travel to and from each of the events on this run is just 1.8 miles, done in 4 minutes by car, and her average waiting time is just 2 minutes. Let's compare that to the least suitable of the available care workers. Again, it's America Dunlap. She hasn't visited any of the service users on this run at all in the past 90 days, and her average travel across each of the events is 5.6 miles. Now, when you consider that it is the same events in the same order for each of the care workers, you would expect their travel to be almost identical. In fact, the only difference really between their travel should be based upon the first journey to get to the first event and the last journey to get from the last event. In this case, we can make a fairly sure guess that the care worker is making a very long journey to and from home, just as she was for the individual event that we were searching for earlier, and it is that which causes her average travel time for each event to be significantly higher than that for the most suitable care worker.